Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. You know, one thing about leadership is knowing when to press on the accelerator and when to throttle back. So that will be today's topic. But before we jump into it, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. I want to give a shout out to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push, as well as his best-selling Amazon book, Mindset is My Degree. Thank you, Nick Menard. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Will Below winners.
Here we go. So, you know, a lot of times I think it's easy when, you know, challenges or times are tough or things like that to people put more of the pedal to the metal. But sometimes, you know, there's a reason why they have the RPM in cars, right? Where you go too hot and you're going to overheat the engine and blow it, and then you're stranded somewhere. So, excited to talk about today's topic, but any high-level thoughts before we jump into our favorite segment?
No, I mean it's so crucial and important. We discussed the last few weeks about the importance of the steps and understanding what's next and prepare for what can be. But once you are there and you don't know, okay, should I now go all in that, or should I just be stabilizing first? I think that's what we want to talk about today.
Yep, agreed. So let's kick it off with one of our favorite segments,
Quotes and quips.
There we go. Gotta love that surround sound. Okay, so the first one is from one of our show's personal favorites, Simon Sinek. And his quote is, "If we don't understand people, we don't understand business." Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, business is always people. You know, you need, even if you sell product, you sell services, you have to talk to someone most of the time. I don't know with AI and with technology, but still people love the human connections in order to take a wise decision about their investment and what they want to buy, or, you know, understand the process of buying something. So, so yeah, I mean, you need to be able to connect and to be able to speak on the same level as a human being in order to understand the process and things like that. But also for you as a human to be able to have those interaction and not be, you know, taking advantage by someone. So those interaction and those human aspects are so very important in any kind of business. So yeah, I totally agree with this quote from Simon. What about you?
Same. I think it reminded me of a couple of topics we've talked about in multiple episodes. One is mission of discovery. Like, you have to know your people. How are you going to motivate them? How are you going to inspire intrinsic motivation so that they can, you know, accomplish all that you're looking to accomplish? And then the other thing was one of our episodes about a month ago now around situational leadership. Like, you need to know your people in order to flex different styles of leadership as well, especially given the certain situations. Sometimes you need to pace set. Other times maybe it's more coaching or being democratic, or visionary, of course. But you need to understand the situation, understand the temperament of your people in that moment. So totally agree. The next one is from Joel Barker. Not sure who Joel Barker is, but ChatGPT attributes this quote to him. And it is, "Speed is only useful when you're running in the right direction."
Yeah, and I think it summarized what we already talked about. But let's repeat ourselves, because repetition is very important in anything and definitely in business. So if you go too fast and you run and you miss some steps that are important, you may achieve something, you know, like faster than you thought, but the chance of that being consistent and sustainable is very, very low. So make sure to understand the process. That's why having a business plan when you start your own business is so very important, because it will allow you to understand what should be next. And that business plan can change as you go, because you don't know everything in beginning. But if you miss steps to try to go too fast, even if you have a short window of win, you may have a lot more, you may need a lot more time to get to whatever is next after that, because you missed all those important steps. So take your time, go step by step. It's better to go steady than go rushing to get something high and then it collapse. If the foundation are not good, it's well known, you will not achieve anything. So that's the way that I interpret this quote.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think since it was talking about speed, I'll use a track analogy. Like, you see sometimes when, and this is the case, I actually, believe it or not, used to run track in high school a long time ago. It seems like another person ago. But You get in the blocks, right? And sometimes you're trying to get off to a quick start, but you either you get out of the blocks too soon and you have a fault, right? Because they haven't actually started the race, or you get out of the blocks and you're running almost too fast and you stumble out of the blocks and he actually slows down your ability to accelerate out of the blocks. And in fact, it could cost you the race. And so I think that happens in business sometimes for different reasons. Sometimes people's enthusiasm or showing something a pilot, they know it's going to work. And we believe in version 0.5,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't wait until it's perfect, you get it started and iterate. But sometimes you could have some false positives, or you could be doing things too quickly and there's some critical steps that are missed, to your point around the foundation. um that ultimately means it's something that's not scalable or worthwhile doing. There's another point when I think when businesses are suffering a challenge. So whether it's a self-employed business, medium-sized business, or large business, people tend to want to find that thing, the magic bullet that's going to solve everything. And rarely is there such a thing. And so you'll get a lot of these different ideas, and it's more like, change we know is a constant, but the speed and velocity of change, sometimes you could be your own worst enemy. You're trying to do too many things, or you're trying to change too many things, or poke holes in too many things to find the magic combination, when really, more often than not, it's about focusing on the fundamentals and getting great with those. And sometimes, I think of that Forrest Gump, where the guy gets splashed by the car and he goes, "Oh shoot!" and Gump goes, "It happens." Like sometimes stuff just happens. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean your strategy's wrong, or you need to do this major left turn. It's just sometimes stuff happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more about testing, I think, resolution. Like, can you stay resolute? Can you stay grit? Can you stay focused, disciplined? And that, I think, sometimes people, they try too many things at once, and it actually takes them into a worse direction than what they would have been staying steady.
I love that because yes, I love the point about if you expect challenges, you will be prepared, even though you don't know the challenge. And we talk about it a lot, but it doesn't mean that I love your analogy because it doesn't mean because something bad happened or something that you didn't expect happened that your idea is wrong or that you need to redo everything. Sometimes, and a lot of time, a tweak it's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are not prepared, you take an approach of, oh my god, that is so wrong and I need to really go totally different direction. Don't do that. Just just if you analyze everything properly, you will tweak, but tweaking is not changing. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand or try that. Okay, I cannot do this, or it's not gonna work. Yes, it's gonna work. Just continue on your plan and adapt and tweak as you go.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So there you have it. There was our quotes and quips, and now getting into our main discussion. So, what are some things that you look for that kind of are maybe indicators where, yeah, we need to accelerate more and put a little bit more pedal to the metal, or throttle back and maybe put on the cruise control a
Yeah,
little bit?
absolutely. So first of all, for me, for the businesses I have, and definitely the one here on travel, for example, I wanna see consistency first before I add something new. Consistency, everybody have different range. I like 3 to 6 months being consistent, 6 months more than three, to be consistent at something and then move to the next level or add something new and see how it goes, because you need to test things to see how it goes. And it's not one test, maybe it's a couple, 3 4 5 testing in order to understand, okay, which one works best and why. Once you understand that, you can go to the next level. So in my case, it took me a year to actually start doing the work because I was too much focused on training.
Mm-hmm.
And my mistake was the training to I tried to train on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized after it took me long, after a year, what am I doing? I'm barely selling, and and I keep learning things that I never ever use.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be trained when I need it? All right. So I tweak. Then I could see a huge increase in my sale because I was focusing on what I knew. I was focusing on the people. I was focusing on free marketing, and that's where I started getting. Oh my God, it works. Then now, when I hear something I never heard before, destination or a vendor, I learn about it at that time. And it takes a couple of days to learn something, when you really have the motivation to do so.
Mhm.
Then the next step was, hmm, I did a fantastic year last year, and I'm like, I can do better, or I can spread with between agent. So
Mhm.
let's go the agent road, and I start, like adding people to the agency and
Mhm.
growing like this.
Mhm.
Is it flawless? No, I made mistakes, but I love the team I have, and we continue to grow together. Not all at the same pace, and
Mhm.
it's okay. But I realize that I'm learning things as I go as well. And the first person who started to the last person who started, there's a huge gap in the kind of material I can give them, because as much as I advance, I realize what they need and what the questions are coming. So I adapt myself and I prepare like like a workbook, so they are better prepared when they start. They have the answer of majority of the questions that are gonna come
Mhm.
already there, and they can go faster. Mm.
Mhm.
So I analyze, and based on that, I go the next step. What's my next step? I really want to go outside Florida a lot more. And that's something that I thought I was going to do this year, but I realized I need to first work with people locally, more local, so I can help them, face to face.
Mhm.
But now that I know the process a lot better, I think I'm more confident to go in different states now and be able to do it remote as well. Finding the
Okay.
right people and
Yeah.
not just people to have people. I think
Yeah,
that,
right.
but again, every business are different. So maybe for you who are listening, it's more about how am I getting this textile business up and running when I need to have 5,000 different samples because of all the size difference, the color difference. Well, that's another topic, but you need to start somewhere and be comfortable about something, then you move to whatever is next.
Mhm.
So go step by step, innovate, see what works, learn, and go to next step. I would not suggest anyone to try to go from 0 to hundreds directly. Like I said, you will burn phases that are extremely important for your foundation.
Mhm.
And I think that's a point that I hear a lot of times. People are so in a hurry to be seeing success that they forgot steps that are extremely important.
Mhm.
But in the other hand, you don't want to be at the same level all your career neither, or all the
Right.
business needs to. And the business, competition are going to come, and then you need to be innovative with competition as well. So never think that you arrive, because whatever happened next, we don't know, but it's gonna influence your business. So be prepared to use different technique and move on from there.
Yeah, well said. Totally agree. I'm going to take a slightly different take on it and bring it back to what we were talking about a month ago with the situational leadership styles. Pace setting was one. We talked about pace setting as a leadership style. And I think there's a time and a place for pace setting. I think some factors that can help someone decide whether or not they need to focus on using that pace setting to accelerate progress would be obviously what is the current performance, what is the capability of your team, and then what is the morale of the team. So if you have low morale for whatever reason, and you employ pace setting, you're actually putting kerosene on a fire.
Hmm.
And you might get short-term gains, but it's going to be a bigger issue. And maybe that issue ends up being the solution, right? Maybe people quit, and maybe it's you just need different people in, or maybe you need to look in the mirror and see how you're leading and coaching. But I wouldn't use pace setting in that example. But I'll use you as an example. When you had the team, when we were in that business unit together, you had the right mental makeup of people. And so when you would press on them for results, they rose to the challenge and they exceeded more often than not the challenge that was put forth. That's because you had a good team culture, and they also had the skills, the capabilities to do it. So I think, again, going back to know your people, know the situation, the culture, the capabilities, and what they're doing could allow you to pace set and accelerate progress faster, or you may have to use a different style. Again, share the vision, right? Can they get bought into the vision? Coach in order to upskill them so that they could deliver on the things you're asking them to do. So those are some things to think about as well.
I love it. And I think something else to think about, if you have a long-standing company or business and you have employees or associates or things like that, something good to think about is, and it's something I use and we use in business, is change the people or change the people. Yeah. So it means different thing. It means change the people, meaning train the people to be better at what they need to do. So you increase the productivity that you have already in your business or in your team, or you change the people, meaning it doesn't work, it's probably not a good fit, and we move to someone else. But what I see also in different businesses that I know, even back in Belgium, people tend to like the people that they work with, but they are not productive. And I think as a leader, it's totally normal. A lot of people say duh, but you would be surprised the amount of people who are still working inside your business or your teams who are actually not at all a good fit. And stop, not have the managerial courage to actually do the right thing with those people.
Mhm.
Yeah, the right thing doesn't mean buy, get something else, get out. The right thing is to coach the person or to train the person to get better. And after that, they decide themselves. Are they able or willing to do? Then great. It's better to keep the person you already know, the culture,
Mhm.
know the business. But if not, it's also okay to move on from the person for the both ways. Because if someone is not happy or is not doing the right thing in a job, they would be a lot more happy and more productive in something different.
Mhm.
So it's not about, oh, I don't want to do that to him or her. Well, no, it's helping. Maybe at that time, that day, it's going to be hurtful. But later on, I know you had that situation multi times, and I had it as well when people thank you after 6 months, a year, 2 years. And I was hurt at that time, but it was the best move because now I'm so accomplished, I'm so more happier. I can grow a lot faster because I understand what I didn't understand back in the day in the other business.
Right.
So please use that approach, like change the people, have that in your mind because it's going to be a lot more helpful to be able to grow wherever you are in at to where you want to go, or to have a consistent, success in the current job you have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, if so, for those of us for those of our winners who follow our podcast, we got a Fanatic Friday episode where we talk about sports. So I'm going to use a sports analogy. If you have a 300-pound defensive lineman, you're not having him play cornerback. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have the right fit for the role that you're expecting them. And which is one reason why I like having a diverse leadership team, because we have a lot of different skills, a lot of different personality styles and types of leadership. Together, that combination is strong. But, if I needed somebody to play cornerback to run a 4.340 to stay up with the wide receiver, I would not be putting 300-pound Bubba, who runs a 5.640 to cover the wideout. And so you got to have the right people for the right fit in the role. And sometimes, I know you've had this experience, I've had it as well, where you have top performing people in individual contributor roles, you have them take on a leadership position, it just doesn't work. And, can you have the managerial courage to have them, if you really think that they could go back to the individual contributor role and be successful, have that conversation. I know you've done it and I've done it. And it's not anything against the person. It's about the role fit and making sure that they're in a position to exceed.
Even less about the person, because if we do that, it means that the person has a great brand.
Mm.
Because if the person is not successful, negative, a pain to work with, we don't want to do that. We
Yeah,
just
right.
move on completely. So in that situation, it's actually a positive. It means, listen, your brand is great. We know you are capable, maybe not just in this role.
Mm-hmm.
And having the managerial courage to have that conversation, and for them to have the capability to put their ego on the side and understand, you know what, this is true. And in our example, I know we both had some example where it's actually for the best for every party, and they actually thriving
Mm-hmm.
now, which they were not before. So again, we can talk about for different business and different teams or anything like that, but it's important to understand your people. Are they the right people at the right spot? Are they fulfilled and successful? Because it needs to be both.
Hmm.
And if yes, great. You have the right team in order to be consistent in what you're doing, or even better and improving as you go.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And last thing I'll say about accelerating before of course, you can add more if you want, but then I'll talk about the other side of it. Is another saying that one of our former leaders used to say: "Nothing focuses the mind like a deadline." So, like, if you are going to accelerate, be clear in setting what are you expecting, by when, and then either uh, give instructions or guidance on the how, or connect them with somebody who can give instructions or guidance on the how. But if you set a target without a particular milestone date, it's just kind of a wish. If you have some sort of date but you don't have a clear target, like let's just see how high we can go, it's also kind of like a wish. You need to have both.
Gotta love pace setting, but it's not for everybody. But gotta love it.
Yeah, it is effective. You just have to know when and where to use it. All right. So the other side of it is when to maybe stay the course. Either throttle down so that RPMs go from the red area to more of a safe area, or cruise control. I'll use that analogy on that. Any situations that come to mind where you kind of employed that approach?
Yes, I think when you feel like you don't have all the right people in there, or you feel like you are burning steps. So I explain. So what I like to do, for example, is in a case where you feel like, you know what, we need to refocus. And I think the refocusing phase is so important. If you have too much on your plate within your business, within your industry, and you feel like people don't have a right direction to go anymore, that's the time to maybe refocus of what is the number one priority that will, based on your business, that will help us right now, not 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 4 years from now. But when you're in business, you have a million things that you can do.
Mhm.
But try to refocus before trying something new. Focus about what you know works, and make sure that the consistency is there first before you move to the next point. And that's a situation where I like to do that. Okay, let's not try to get more. Let's try to continue to rebuild or to reinforce our foundation by showing again that we can do it by doing the things we know.
Mhm.
And then once you see after a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending what it is, okay, everybody are back on the same page. We are stable for a while. Now we can reintroduce something new to try to to go back, on the hockey stick kind of thing. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah. For me, you know how I like my little analogies. I was thinking
Go.
of a movie, Twister, the OG Twister, not the new one. I haven't seen the new one, Twisters, but the OG Twister. And when change or business performance, when change is being even more rapid than normal and a high velocity of change, or business performance is sluggish and you get a lot of people with a lot of different ideas and everyone's prepping to find that magic bullet. The reason why I bring up Twister is one of the things that always stuck with me in that movie is one of the last scenes when the tornado's
All
coming
right.
and and they have nowhere to go, right? And so they're in this basement in this field and they wrap this strap around themselves in the post and they're holding on and here comes a tornado, right? And it's sweeping them, but they're attached to the post, but they're horizontal, right? And then there's that scene where they look up and see the center of the tornado, which is kind of cool. But that's how I feel like uh when people are panicky, and I think that happens when they're trying to do too much change, or they're trying to introduce too many things at once. In a way, I view that as being panicked. And when I see that, my default is to go the Twister route. Like, I'm just going to hold on to this post.
Hmm.
I'm going to wait for this storm to pass, because I know that if I just stay aligned with the thing that I know is solid, like in that case, the post, the storm will pass and then I'll be back on sound footing and
Love
be
it.
able to go forward. And I think sometimes people forget to strap themselves around the post and they get swept up like that cow did in Twister, and there's the cow's flying around. And that's how I see some people in business. Like they get swept up in the moment when really they need to find the way to stay grounded.
Summary, stay the course, focus on the fundamentals, what you know works, and then go from there before you even panic and maybe let go of the post and see where the winds bring you.
Or Wizard of Oz. End up, you're not in Kansas anymore. No.
Find the co.
Actually, just side note, because we do a little pop culture with this. I want to see Wizard of Oz in the sphere. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that may be good.
I think that would be good. And I think there's some leadership analogies we can pull from that movie. Maybe we'll do that, like a little Wizard of Oz, because you have a lot of different things in that movie.
Well, we'll be in Vegas in December, so.
Yeah, that could be a future episode, so we'll see. So any other comments you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I think it was good. I hope it was good for you as well. That's the main goal. And please share your comments and tell us what you think and how you do in those situations. And so we can definitely implement that next time.
Yeah. Yep. So, that'll do it for this episode, winners. Be careful of your RPM meter, and that'll kind of guide you when to accelerate, maybe throttle up or throttle back. But that'll do it for this episode. Please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow 2 for the Win on your favorite platform. We're on all of them. And thanks again to nickmenard.com and the 1% Push, as well as his Amazon best-selling book, Mindset is My Degree, for sponsoring today's episode. Have a wonderful week, winners, and we will see you next Monday Mindset.
Bye, winners.